Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Dad Speak, a show where real dads share their stories about being present in their child's lives with the goal of raising responsible adults. I am your host, Sarah McClure, and my guest today is Maurice Dillard. I call him Dillard. He is currently working as a security officer at a local hospital and at a district court. He is the proud dad of all girls. Today, I'm going to talk to Dillard about being the only male in the house when he was growing up and getting married before the age of 25 and having a family. Welcome, Dillard. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, growing up, did you have friends that didn't have sisters?
Originally, all my friends were girls because I was with my auntie all the time.
Oh,
So
okay.
we only got an 8 year difference between us, but I had to go everywhere she went. My grandmother made me go everywhere she went.
Oh,
So all her friends was women, all girls all the time. So it was a long time before I got around kids my age of the same sex.
okay. All right. So, did you ever have a chance to spend a night over their house with guys? Uh, between having females in the house and not having females in the house when you started hanging out with boys your age?
Oh yeah, it wasn't no problem for me to when I started got around the kids my age that were guys, there was no problem between me spending the night over there or they coming over to spend the
Hmm.
night with me.
But did they have sisters or they did not have sisters?
It was all of them was a mix. All of them was mixed. Some
Okay.
had sisters, some didn't have sisters. Some had like I had one a group of friends of mine that had like 7 kids in the house. So it was like
Ooh.
4 boys and 3 girls plus the mother.
Did you notice a difference when the house in households where it's just all women and then when it's boys and women? What was the difference that you kind of like stood out? You know.
Initially, I didn't recognize it growing up, but as I got older, I started to realize that in the house full of women, it's it's a lot more communication. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
more talking. Is a lot more explaining everything.
Mm-hmm.
Versus being in the house with mostly guys, is you already know. I told you before. It's short and to the point between being in the house with guys and being in the house with all women.
So if you didn't wash the dishes, your mom said, "I told you to wash the dishes because da 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 da," and the guy said, "Get in there, get them dishes."
I was getting woke up in the middle of the night to wash them dishes.
Oh,
From my
okay.
mother.
Uh huh.
I mean, I never had an actual father figure in the house, but when it came to guys, I had a group of friends of mine that had a father that was real stern.
Uh
And
huh.
if you didn't wash them dishes that night, then you was gonna do extra the next day as well. You was gonna wash dishes, you was gonna vacuum, you was gonna wash my car, you was gonna help me change the tire, you was gonna help me change the oil because you didn't wash them dishes last night.
Did the dad wake him up and make him wash it, or he just tell him that's your punch for tomorrow?
That when you woke up tomorrow, you heard it.
Okay.
You heard
But
it and you got
women,
it and you did it.
mothers would wake their kids up in the middle of the night. That's what you're saying. The difference was.
Well, at least mine did.
Yeah,
She
mine
made
did
sure to
too.
wait.
Mine did too. I waited till she go to bed because I was sleepy because I stayed on the porch in the summertime till 2 or 3 in the morning. When she woke up at 6 o'clock, she woke me up with a belt saying, "Get down there and wash those dishes." So yeah, I feel that. Yeah. So did you have more than did you have a lot of friends that came from two parent homes when you
No,
were growing up?
where I come from, most of my friends, well, it was kind of both sided because I started off growing up in Inkster, and
Mm-hmm.
I was living with my grandparents. So there was a lot of people in the neighborhood that had both parents.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started living with my mother, most of my friends only had one parent homes.
Okay.
You
And
know,
did
so
you
I just
move to another city or were you still in Inkster?
no another city. I moved to Taylor.
Okay. All right. So your grandma kept you while your mom went to work?
Um, it's kind of funny because my mother moved out of town for a while. She moved to Chicago for a while, and I
Okay.
lived with my grandparents. And then when my mother came back, my grandfather told her, "No, he just gonna stay with us now."
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't no, it was almost like no debate. even though she was home, she was willing to, she was gonna take me back home with her. My
Mm-hmm.
grandfather said he done already started school, he done already started this, he gonna stay with us.
Okay.
And that's what I did. My mother didn't, back then, my mother, you don't go against your parents.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you are the oldest?
I'm the oldest of my children, my mother's children. It's just me and my
Right,
sister.
right, right.
We was both born on the same day, 6 years apart
Oh,
from each other.
okay. How did you spend your birthdays? I mean, did y'all
Well, I mean,
always have to have a party together?
the first 5 6 years I was by myself until she came about, and then I had to share all my birthdays with her. We had a pack. If I had a Pac-Man cake, she had a Miss Pac-Man cake. If I had, everything I had, she had to have too. So it worked out perfect for my mother because she had one birthday per year.
Yeah. So you your you say your mom when you moved to Taylor, most of your friends they were raised by single moms.
Yeah, we pretty much lived in like subsidized housing.
Mm-hmm.
And, so most of the people inside the complexes that we lived in, for Taylor we called it projects, but anywhere else it'd just be like regular apartments.
Yeah.
But everybody there, was getting some type of assistance.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I didn't know it then. When I look back at it now, everybody had some type of assistance living there. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody had mostly like just one parent. Maybe if you was lucky, maybe the father would come get the kids on the weekend and
Mm-hmm.
not just say I'm gonna come get you and never show up.
Yeah.
But for the most part,
Yeah.
it was just all single. It was just all single parents, all single mothers raising all kids.
Now, what about your dad? Did he come and get you on the weekend?
Uh, my father was a little different. My I like to say, I was that love child.
Oh, okay.
He'll come by, give me some money, say hi, things like that, and then go back home. I never stepped foot in my father's house till I turned 16.
Oh, how far away did he live?
He lived in Inkster too.
Oh, okay. Did him and your did him and your mom grow up together or
No,
in the same day?
it was a big age gap. The age gap was, I think my father was like 30 some years old when I was born. My mother was like 19 going on 20.
Okay. All right. So, what did you notice about the households and your friends' attitudes about females, the ones that didn't have sisters in the house? Did you notice, because you said there's a lot more communication when you're living with women, uh, but like in their household, when it came to like, you know, I don't know, their philosophy on, how you should treat a girl or whatever, did you
You know,
notice anything?
in that neighborhood when I moved to Taylor, it was just all about just really just um paying the bills, and a lot of the guys understood their mother's struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So it was never really like F that B or F that B or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It was more. I've seen a lot more guys have more respect for women. When it was just their mothers or just their sister or just their auntie. It was more like all the aggression was towards their fathers, who they either never met, only seen from time to time.
Mm-hmm. So they were protective.
Right.
Okay. So, what's your philosophy about how men should treat women? Because I mean, you raised in a house with, you know, your aunt and your grandma,
Um,
and then you got sisters, all sisters.
I just got one sister, but on my father's side, I got like I think three brothers and one sister.
Okay, but you grew up with just your sister.
Yeah, I just grew up with just my sister. So 9 times out of 10, when people ask me how many sisters or brothers I have, I most more than likely just say one.
Okay, all right.
But
Yeah. So, what's your philosophy about how men should treat women based on the way you grew up with your mom and in that neighborhood with those guys, and then.
my philosophy is always, you know, it's always been, treat women with the utmost respect, as much as possible because fortunately, I was around guys that was also in the same predicament that I was in, and I had some guys as far as my uncles to help, bring me up as well. They was much older, of course, but it was never had a philosophy of calling no woman a bitch or calling no woman anything, outside of her name and things of that nature. But pretty much to, treat them all with respect. I always believe, regardless of what you look like or how you do, there's some beauty in you somewhere, you know.
Right.
And I believe, all women have some type of beauty somewhere, and sometimes it's all about getting that, showing them and getting it out of them, getting that confidence out of them that you are beautiful. You do have something to offer, Then you have some that's overly confident, you know, and you just take it for what it is. Because fortunately, I grew up with nothing but strong women. None of the women that I grew up with, even my sister, don't have a weak bone in their body.
All right.
So me seeing a weak woman is pretty much a turn off almost. But a
Oh,
woman who
okay.
knows what they want and goes after it and lets you know is vulnerable to you is a major turn on for me for a woman.
All right. All right. So you grew up in Inkster and moved to Taylor. So what school did you go to?
I went to Taylor Public Schools. I went to Inkster Public Schools probably for like 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
from kindergarten to first grade, and then I went from first grade all the way till I graduated in Taylor.
Okay. All right. So were you popular in school?
Uh, I wouldn't necessarily say I was popular in school, but I knew people. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't necessarily a loner, but
Okay.
at the same time, I wasn't the one to hang out with everybody and knew everybody and was in everybody's business.
All right. Did you play any sports or instruments?
I, I mean, I played basketball my whole life. From the time I was able to put a basketball in my hand, and I
Okay.
started playing football once I got to high school. Probably like I ain't played football to my junior year, and I ran track for 2 years. I tried baseball, but the ball moved too fast, and I just made every pitcher look great.
Oh man. So what did you want to be when you were growing up?
What I wanted to be when I was growing up, I actually wanted to be in law enforcement, but the
Really?
issue, but growing up with women, just in my case, growing up with women are protective and nurturers, so they didn't want me going into law enforcement. I think I wanted to be in the military as well, but they didn't
Mm-hmm.
want me going into that type of field because they was worried I would die.
Wow.
So if, I think in hindsight, maybe I should have looked back and did it sooner than later because
Yeah.
I was listening to them and they were saying you're gonna get yourself hurt, you may die and things like that. So that's what I wanted to do when I was growing up.
And I guess your grandfather, is he still alive or?
No, my grandfather passed away in '89. He was
Yeah.
yeah, he was like 70 in '89. He was 75. So I think I was like 14, either 13
Okay.
or 14 when he passed away.
Yeah. So he couldn't have gave his masculine opinion about what you should have done. What did your uncles have a say, or your mom and your grandma were in charge?
It was in the black family, the woman's the monarchy, monarchy
Yeah.
in the black family. We could say what we want to say, but you can't go against what they say per se. There's no arguing and going back and forth. I said what I said, and that's what it is.
Right.
And plus my
Right.
uncle at the time, they had their own life going on and their own families going on, so they
Mm-hmm.
really wasn't around as much. I think it's like a 12 and 14 year gap between me and my uncles.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, they were way grown after you got
Yeah.
here. Yeah, yeah. So you say you have step sisters and brothers on your dad's side. Are you close to them at all?
No, I'm
Do
not
you
close to
see
them at
them?
all. I see one from time to time, and the only reason why I seen him is when I used to be a reserve police officer in Inkster.
Okay.
So of course, you're gonna bump into him. Sometimes you get a phone. Sometimes you get a run to their house.
Okay. All right. All right. So, but you and your sister, you guys are close though?
Yeah, yeah, we're real close.
Yeah.
I had
Okay.
all girls. She had all boys.
Wow. Wow. So what did your parents do for a living? You say you didn't go see your dad. You didn't go to your dad's house till you was 16 years old. Was he at? What was he doing?
Well,
What
my
was his
father worked
job?
for GM. My father worked for GM. My father came up here from Alabama.
Okay.
You know, he told me he started off at a chip factory. Then he ended up getting a job at GM.
Okay.
So he worked at GM, and my mother used to work with before England shut down all the
Mental health
mental
places.
health. She used to work at places like that, and then from there she went to go into the school system and work with the physically challenged autistic
Oh,
children.
okay. Okay. So what type of activities did you and your sister and your mom do when you were growing up as a family?
Um, I mean, from time to time we made it really wasn't much because money was scarce.
Okay.
So from time to time we may, I don't know, go to go to her friend's house and they would play music and dance, or we would go um to zoo, small things, because back then, with my mother, money was scarce, so we didn't really go on a lot of family vacations. Everything we did was basically, at home, at card games, birthday parties, Chuck E. Cheese, small things like that, in within the state.
Okay. All right. So after you graduated from high school, what was your plan? You say you was thinking about the military, thinking about law enforcement, but the women in your life said, nope, that's too dangerous. So what did you do? Did you go to college? Did you take up a trade?
Um, when I first graduated, when I was in school, I was in the ROTC class. So as soon as I graduated, I was enrolled into a program to earn a scholarship to go to a military school.
Okay.
And I believe the military school was Kemper University in Missouri.
Mm,
And you had to earn a scholarship to give, for them to pay for your whole entire schooling. And
okay.
it was in Kentucky. So I had to so I left I flew from here to Missouri, and I spent the week in Missouri. Then we took a bus to Fort Knox, and that's where the camp was at.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I was into that. I really wanted to get into the military, and I took and went through the whole thing. The one thing I forgot when I went was my glasses, because they have
Mm-hmm.
a shooting range out there,
Okay.
and they had a little pop ups. They just you pop up, you shoot it, but I didn't have my glasses. And I
Wow.
remember I used to be able to play basketball real good, and I'd be out there playing basketball with everybody and winning and doing all type of whatever it was you do when you're that young. But when I went to that gun range and I didn't have my glasses on me, one of the drill sergeants, I believe he was from Detroit, and he looked at my score sheet, and he was like, you know what, Dylan, I could have went down there blindfolded and threw rocks and hit more targets than what you just did.
Did you tell him you left your glasses?
They ain't want to hear no excuses. There was no such thing as no excuse. I just didn't do
Right.
it.
Wow.
But even though even though I didn't pass that part and that disqualified me from the scholarship, you had an option to stay or leave. And
Okay.
I stayed the whole time, even though I knew I didn't win a scholarship. There was no way possible I was gonna win the scholarship, but I stayed and stuck the whole thing out.
Oh, okay.
And, but then after that, then after that I just had odd jobs here and there all the time.
Mm. So that was some good experience at the military school then for you, huh?
Yeah, it taught me a whole lot. It taught me a lot of discipline and things of that nature.
Okay. So when did you start thinking about getting married? Had you found a steady job and you was like, I think I want to get married and have a family?
That was crazy because I met my ex-wife like 2 years after I moved at my mother's house, and it was like four of us living in a house together. It was like four of us guys living in a two-bedroom townhome together.
Mm-hmm.
Two guys in one room, two guys in another room. And in that process, I ended up meeting my ex-wife, and I ended up somewhere down somehow, some way. I can't remember exactly how and why, but we all moved out that townhouse together, and I ended up moving in with her.
Okay.
Yeah, and we ended up sometime down the road. We ended up getting married, and I thought I had a decent job because I was working at Northwest Airlines at the time before it was
Okay.
Delta.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I ended up working. Ended up getting a job at the airport, and I felt that it was right. I thought that this was going to be a longevity at Northwest Airlines,
Mm-hmm.
and then we ended up getting married. I met her in '97 or '98, and we ended up getting married in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
and we went from there.
Wow. So, were your friends and cousins, everybody getting married around that time? Was that the norm? That young men, y'all just like, yeah, I met the right one. I'm about to get married. Is that what was going on? Because you were
No,
under 25, right?
yeah, I was on the. I think I was like 23, 24, something like that. My oldest daughter, I was 23. My oldest daughter was born in '99.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing, I knew I didn't want a baby mother, a baby mama, per se. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? I knew if I had kids, we had kids together. I didn't want to just be that guy in the house. I didn't want to just
Right.
be, yeah, he here. Yeah, he coming over for a minute. He'll be gone in a minute. I didn't, I didn't want that for myself, and I didn't want that, for my children either.
Okay.
So we ended up getting. She told me we was getting married. She said, we getting married on this date, and I'm like, okay.
But you guys were friends at least, so it didn't seem like a big task or nothing you didn't want to do, right?
Yeah, yeah. We was friends. We enjoyed some of the same things that during that time, and we had a good time with each other. And and it to me it felt right because for me personally, I have to be comfortable around you to do anything or to say anything. I just don't talk freely to just to anybody or open myself up to just anybody.
Okay.
So me and her, we were friends. It took us some time to build up to that moment, but
Mm-hmm.
by the time we got married, yeah, we was as close as friends as possible.
Okay. All right. So, how did you meet her? You say you ended up you knew her, but how did you meet her? Was she a friend of your sister's, or was
Well,
she one of your friend's sister?
when it was four of us living together in a townhouse.
Mm-hmm.
One
Yeah.
of the guys had a job at Value City back when it was like Value City Warehouse or whatever. Before it was just Value City Furniture,
Okay.
and they worked. And him and her friends, they worked together in there. And they're like, well, we about to go over to these girls' house and have drink and talk and all this good stuff like that. And I said, all right, here I'm coming. And the girl that I was talking to wasn't her initially.
Okay.
It was someone else that I just didn't have that connection with.
Mm-hmm.
And she just so happened to live down the street from us, like 6 doors down from us. And I just
Okay.
so happened to went over. I seen her outside playing with her daughter one day, and I just
Mm-hmm.
happened to went over there and started talking to her, and it went from there.
Okay. All right. So she already had a little girl when you met her.
Yes, she was like 4 or 5 years old when I met her.
Okay. All right. So did you guys, when you guys finally got together, did you want to have a large family?
Well, I always said I wanted to have a large family until I started having kids.
that money, that cost kind of make you
Yeah,
change your mind, don't
I always said I wanted 5 kids, but then I changed my mind.
it?
I tap out.
Look, Uncle Sam probably helped you too.
Yeah, I tap out.
So how many children do you have? You got the one already from her when you got together. So how many more did you have?
Two.
Okay, so you got three girls.
Yes.
All right, all right. So did you want to have a boy along the way?
Yeah, I did want to have a boy, but some I don't know, maybe God told me because I heard something in my head tell me you're not having no boys, so you better choose these names wisely.
Okay. All right. So I've heard some men who were married before the age of 25 say that they were just too young. So the marriage didn't work out. So they may have gotten divorced within the first 5 years. So, but You were married. How long were you married? Because you got married before 25. So how long did your marriage last?
from 2003 till 2016.
Okay. So at least over 10 years.
Yeah, and then the years
Yeah.
that we was dating and living with each other before that, from at least 98 to 2003, and then from
Mm-hmm.
2003 to 16.
Yeah, that's a good little time for somebody that was married, before they were 25.
Right.
So yeah, well that was good. So you stayed married for over 10, maybe 15 years, and then things started happening that caused you guys to grow apart, which led to a divorce. What does grow apart mean?
Um, I started realizing it was some things I needed to do, as a man, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to provide for my family. And
Okay.
I remember it was one incident that just made me feel like really just made me feel like, I don't know if I can say it or not. You may want to edit it out, but maybe made me feel like shit.
Mm.
It was a time when it was during Christmas, and I was in between jobs and couldn't get the kids any gifts really. And um a family came in. It was a I don't want to sound vulgar or racist, nothing like that, but it was a white family that came in and gave my kids gifts as
Mm-hmm.
as a good deed that they do every Christmas. And it
Right.
really, it really struck a nerve with me. I didn't go off on nobody, of course, but it
Right.
really struck a nerve with me by saying I gotta do better. I gotta do something. I can't keep having outsiders come in my house taking care of my kids. I brought these kids in this world, and I need to be the one to do this all the time.
Right.
I shouldn't. There is no such thing as a break when raising kids, and I felt real low when they came in my house and gave my kids Christmas gifts.
Mm.
So I decided to go back to school and get my degree.
Okay.
So that's what got that's what got my mind shift changing to being a better person. And I think that's where some of our behaviors, which I put in the past, she really didn't put in the past. I started seeing life a little different.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at life as being a good time all the time. I
Okay.
didn't look at life as having to drink every single weekend or anytime that I'm not at work. I knew I had to do something better and educate myself. And the part of educating myself was not me just getting that degree and saying I did it, but letting my kids see that, you know, there's nothing wrong with going to school. There's nothing
Okay.
wrong with learning something new on a continuous basis. And I just knew I didn't want them coming up the way that I came up hard headed.
Mm. Okay. So your wife, her priority, education was not a real priority with her. She didn't see a reason for it. She just figured you could just go get another job and you would be okay.
Well, her way of looking at education, she knew you always had to have an education.
Right.
But and she went back to school and got her high school diploma, and she ended up going to get a. She tried to be a EMT, but it just
Mm-hmm.
never worked out for her. And
Mm.
when that didn't work out for her, she just went downhill from there. She looked at it as she was failing and failing and failing no matter what. But I always believe that the only time you fail is when you give up, is when you stop.
Right.
Just because
Right.
somebody say you didn't make it this time don't mean you're not gonna make it another time.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
They
So
say like when you try to stop smoking, don't quit quitting.
right,
Continue to quit till you can do it.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's where the whole shift when I stopped hanging out on the weekends. I stopped doing a lot of stuff. But even at the same time, life was still continuing to hit me hard as hell at the same time too. But I never stopped.
Okay. You had the mentality of that the strong women in your family have, that you can do anything, that you can just keep going.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking about. I have a friend who's a counselor. He's been on my show before. He is the owner of Shore Lanes Bowling Center, and he talks about our behavior and what we do. People say, I don't know why I do that. Well, you do it because you were taught that from your ancestors and the family that's living now. Great grandmama, all that. If you trace back your legacy, um, you will see that your grandmother, your great grandmother, your great, they all had the characteristics that you have. It didn't just happen by accident. It's not happenstance. It actually was a learned behavior that you got from your relatives, your mother, your father, your aunts, your uncles, somebody in the family had the same trait that they got from their parents and their parents and their parents. So for you to be strong like that and be disciplined, you said strong women are running your family. Well, it didn't miss you. You have that same mentality, and that's just how it is, and everybody can't do it, you
Right.
know. Everybody can't do it. No, shade on your wife or anybody else, but you didn't. That wasn't by accident that you were able to complete, your degree and keep going and stop doing things. You have good discipline,
Oh
but
yeah.
everybody can't. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
mean, like I tell people all the time, life's gonna hit you in so many different ways that
oh yeah,
you're never gonna see it coming.
right,
You just gotta know how to get back up and keep moving forward.
right.
It's a I don't know if you ever watched that Sylvester Stallone movie with it was called Balboa, but when he told his son that life is gonna hit you harder, way harder than anybody else is gonna hit you, but you have to
Mhm,
learn how to get back up and get what it is
right.
that you want, and you gotta know your worth. And if you know your worth, go out there and get what you're worth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep. More that's true. So true. Seven. So true. Yes, yes. So getting back to you and being a dad. So before you became a father, what about being a father were you most excited about when you learned that you were.
The most exciting thing I couldn't wait for I couldn't wait for my child to finally call me dad.
Oh,
That
okay.
was that was the highlight of being a father for the first time. Is the first time I ever hear a little person call you dad, daddy, whatever it is. I couldn't wait to hear that.
And she probably said dad first before she said mama. Cause
I don't remember.
that's how they usually do. You guys get called, the parent name before the women do. For whatever reason. But
But as they got
yeah.
older, I got tired of hearing it.
Cause that meant I need something or I want something after they said dada or daddy.
Yeah, after 4 years old, it wore out real fast.
That's funny. That's funny. All right. So I'm sorry, when they were growing up, what types of activities did you do with your daughters?
I tried to do everything that I didn't have, as a from a parent point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Since my mother worked all the time, she didn't have time to come to basketball games or do anything outside and play. Things like that because she had to work every day.
Right.
So I try to. So some of the things I try to do with my kids then, and I try to do now is find some type of way to hang out with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like with my youngest daughter, I'll be trying to get her to do TikToks with me. She hate doing these TikToks with me.
Are you making her dance or sing?
No, we just doing funny movie scenes. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Little sketches.
yeah,
Okay.
that's all we doing. Little sketches, from Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence life and things like that. She just hate doing them with me, but she do them. My other daughter, my middle daughter, she always she likes to call and get advice from me all the time.
Oh, okay.
From having boyfriends to possible career changes or even just telling me what's going on in her life. My oldest daughter, stepdaughter, she don't really ask for much, but when I say something, but when I ask what you need, then she'll say I need this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know. Or I say I'm on my way over there. She's like, okay. Little things like that. It's my youngest that takes me down through there though.
Is she the S word spoiled rotten?
Yeah, I guess you can say she is that. But
Mm-hmm.
and at the same token, I had to tell her last like a couple weeks ago. I had to tell her, you know, I had to, and one thing I never got. Not to say it, no, I ain't gonna say I never got it, but having girls, you gotta let them know what they're doing good at.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to tell her, I had to give her flowers and tell her, she went to while she was in high school, she took her associate's classes. So when she
Mm-hmm.
got it, she was determined to go. She was determined to go to Oakland University. That's the only school she wanted to
Okay.
go to. She got in there with a scholarship, with a full ride scholarship, other than her books. So she had to pay for her books on her own.
Wow.
You
That's
know,
beautiful.
and she graduated 2 years later. And she's a college advisor at the high school that we both went to. So last week I just had to give her flowers and tell her how much she's accomplished in such a
Mm-hmm.
short time. Because a lot of times,
Right.
a lot of times she don't see it. She don't understand what it is that she. I don't think that she sees and understands what it is that she has truly accomplished in this short amount of time in life, in 22,
Right.
23 years.
Yeah. That's big time. I'm glad you do that. Helps build up her self-esteem. Yep.
Oh yeah, I try to
They
do it with
say if,
all
if
of
the
them.
daddy don't tell him, somebody else will that has no, don't have her best interest at heart. So
Right.
yeah,
Even when
that's
growing up,
good.
I never really whooped my kids growing up. Never really gave them spankings because I
Mm-hmm.
never wanted them to get used to anytime a man is mad at you, he could put his hands on you.
I like that. I
So
like
I,
that.
I, I tried everything possible to come up with different disciplinary actions other than you getting a whooping.
Right.
Now, had they been boys, it probably would have been a different story. They would have had all type of ass whoopings.
you, look, you beat the brakes off of 'em. Wow. That's good. I like that. I've never heard that. That that you didn't put your hands on so they wouldn't get used to a man's anger always resulting in violence toward
Right.
them. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. So, um, is there a favorite story that you tell them about when you were growing up? Do you have a favorite story about growing up that you like to tell them about?
I don't think they'd listen to half the stories I tell them.
So you do tell them a lot.
I be trying to, but they always got somewhere to go.
Well, how when you used to ask your mom or somebody, can I get a ride to school? They be like, a ride. I had to walk barefoot 20 miles. Some crazy stuff
They
like that.
don't. They don't like to hear
That's
that. Even with the way these schools close nowadays so fast because they hear it's gonna snow.
yeah,
They hear it's gonna
yeah,
snow, and we just wake up in the morning and would watch TV to see if your school was on the clicker or not.
right.
They don't
Yeah.
even gotta wait that long no more now. They get a phone
No, they tell you
call.
the day before, 2 days before. We're expecting 3 inches of snow.
Yeah, and I used to tell
Up.
them all the time. I literally had to. I literally had to put on my snow clothes if I had, whatever, my coat, my hat,
Mhm.
Vaseline on my face, gloves, moon boots. We couldn't afford no snowsuit. If you had a snowsuit, that meant you had some money. So we ain't had no snowsuit, and and we would have to literally walk to school. And if we didn't walk to school, we had to walk to the bus stop, and the bus would be late every morning in the
Mm,
wintertime. But they don't want to hear that. They always got rides to
right.
school.
Yeah. Yeah. Have your daughter ever been on a bus before? Have they ever caught the bus?
Yeah, when we lived in Belleville,
Okay.
my oldest daughter used to have to take the bus to junior high school because we lived right next to the elementary school, so they ain't had to catch the bus. They could just walk behind the
Hmm.
apartment complex, and the school was behind the apartment complex.
Yeah.
But other
Well,
than that,
there are some kids that have never been on the public bus system, so not that it's the greatest thing or anything, but they've
no,
always gotten a
that's
ride. So
not.
yeah, they've always gotten a ride. So you know. So have you bought your children a car?
I haven't bought my kids a car. I have put
Okay.
my name on the car.
Okay.
You know, the oldest. She's always. I never had them work while they was at home while they was going to school. I mean, not work. I never had them pay no bills while they was at home and they
Okay.
was going to school. So whatever they work for and
Mm-hmm.
how much they earn, you just use that money to get what it to get what you wanted. You know,
Okay.
but I have co-signed for a car. You know,
No
and
regrets, right?
huh?
No regrets about co-signing.
Can I plead the fifth?
Okay, plead the fifth. All right. So, and you said they did have jobs when they were in school, like in high school, you allowed them to work.
Yeah, yeah. During the summertime, they could work during the summertime.
Okay. All right. What financial advice did you give them?
The crazy part, I guess looking back at it, it may not have been much financial advice because I didn't know anything too much about finances either growing up because of because of where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
It was always just about work, 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 and not necessarily understanding what money really is.
Mm-hmm.
So, the advice I would give them is to save your money and get what it is that you want and try to get whatever free money you can get.
Okay.
That's how rich people stay rich is because they always get money from other people. They never spend their own money. But now how to do that, I didn't know how to do that at the time.
Okay. So, what did your daughters want to be when they were growing up? Did they tell you, "Daddy, I want to be a nurse. Daddy, I want to be a doctor. Daddy, I want to be a school teacher"?
Um, my oldest daughter, she wanted to get into sport. Well, I think both of them, my oldest and my middle child, wanted to get into sports medicine. They just
Mm,
loved. They was more like tomboys growing up. They wanted to do something with sports. That's all they wanted to do was something with sports. Sports medicine, sports something. Athlete, that's what they wanted to do. My youngest daughter, she was always into fashion. She
okay.
always wanted to she was like the true girl of all of them. That was like
Mm-hmm.
the little girl. The other two, they had basketball shorts, basketball shoes, that they were just pure jocks is what they was. But my youngest one, she was just always that little girl all the time. She just had to be cute for every occasion.
Okay. So, what family values did you teach them?
To always, regardless of what's going on between me and their mother, their own personal lives, that they gotta stick with one another. Because
Okay.
when me and your mama gone and anybody else, all y'all have is yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no need to, if you get mad at one another, which is going to happen, don't let that linger on. You know what I'm saying? Because eventually you're going to forget what you're mad about and you're just going to be sitting there mad for no reason. And
Right.
it take more energy. It take more energy to be mad at somebody than it does not to be mad at someone. So I was always told them, always be sisters. Never let nothing and no one put a wedge in between, y'all sisterhood. If you see your sister cold, put a blanket on her. If you
Mm-hmm.
see her struggling in school, help her study or something. Do something to always, you know, be a sister to be a family.
Yes, I like that. I like that. I like that. So, what qualities do you value the most in yourself?
The value that I care most about myself is a never give up attitude, a never just quit attitude. I think a lot of people are quick to quit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It ain't working. I'm done. I just ain't got it. I just haven't got it down packed yet. I just haven't learned how to do it properly yet. And keep
Right.
and,
Right.
and, and keep going at it. Just keep at it. It will eventually some things you also know not meant for you as well.
Right.
But you're not gonna know that until you try it.
Exactly. Exactly. So, what's a lesson that you learned the hard way that you will share with your daughters?
Lesson I learned the hard way was sure enough being hard headed. Trying to think that you know everything. It was one point. Sometimes some people couldn't tell me anything because I felt I knew everything.
Wow.
knowing that I didn't know half of anything. You know what I'm saying? And just be humble and sit back and listen to what somebody say sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause
Yeah.
that could be life changing. You know, if you just sitting back and you listening and you humble yourself sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Even when you make that mistake and you being embarrassed, that embarrassment is good sometimes because it teaches you something different.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. So, did you allow your daughters to try new things and fail? Like, if one of them said, "I want to play the violin," or another one said, "I want to play the drums," did you say, "Nah, I don't like the drums, or I don't like the violin, so you can't play it"? Did they allow? Were they allowed to try new things? And if they failed, they just failed.
Yeah, no, they was always allowed to try something different. You know, I always said my kids was like untraditional black children. My kids, they tried to play one of them tried to play the violin. Um, Another one doing track and field. She did the pole vault. I'm like, I ain't no black person ever did the pole vault. But go ahead, do the pole vault. You know, I'm scared of it myself. You know, my other daughter, my middle daughter, she was always into dancing. So she even danced to this day. She loved dancing. So that's all she's ever wanted to do was entertain somehow or do something somehow.
Okay. All right. So, do your daughters know that they can tell you anything?
Well, I don't know. They think they could tell me anything. They know they
I
could
mean,
tell me a
like if
lot.
they have some kind of little thing. Well, a lot of the reason why people get caught up in certain things is because of shame. Someone has
Hmm.
made them feel ashamed about stuff going on in their life. But if you express to somebody what has happened, you made a mistake, they can't shame you for, because you told it yourself.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is, are they allowed, if they have an issue that's really pounding on their heart, can they come to you and say, "Daddy, I need some help with this. I got to tell you something," knowing that you're not going to shame them and just say, "Baby, that's okay. You made a mistake." Do they know that?
Yeah, yeah. My kids, they know they can. You know, I'm not necessarily gonna shame them, but I think they're gonna be more embarrassed on telling me what it is,
Right,
or
right.
they may be
But that's
ashamed of what the
normal.
situation may be. But I try my best not to be like, "What the hell was you thinking?" Because they got me. Because they test girls test you like no other. Girls will test you like no other. My youngest daughter, she reminds me of me more than what she thinks she does. 'Cause she likes to go out there and enjoy life. And I all
Okay.
means I tell her go enjoy life while you can, while you're still in your 20s, don't have any children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she went out with some of her friends one day, and she came home in the Uber. Where the car at? I got all these different things going in my head. So
Uh,
tore the car up. Somebody stole the car. What's going on with the car? She was like, "Well, I've been drinking. I ain't want to drive home."
oh, bravo,
Yeah.
bravo.
So now I gotta go up here to the casino and drive all around this parking lot. I think it was Motor City Casino. So I had to go on every single floor and try to find this car of hers. And she decided she want to park on the fifth floor. Who was on the fifth floor?
She
So
had no idea where she parked it because she was drinking.
yeah. And
But
so
at
I
least you told her don't drink and drive, though.
well, yeah, I told her don't drink and drive. But she shouldn't have been drinking that much if you ask me. But on the other
Right,
end,
right.
she did. She didn't think I was gonna be home. 'Cause I'm always at work. And I just so happened to be home when she came through the back door.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my middle daughter to come by so we can go get her car.
Wow.
So we went and got the car and rode all over the parking lot and brung it back down. And you know, I had a I had to have a strong talk with her.
Right.
You know, because of the position that she's in life professionally,
Mm-hmm.
that she can't afford to be in. I'm glad you used the Uber and didn't drive because if anything happened, the first thing that came out was a student advisor
Mm-hmm.
pulled over or causes a death or accident for drunk
Right.
driving. You know what I'm saying? You're way more responsible than what you think you are. And she does and part of that she didn't think that far ahead to think that she's more influential than she thinks she is. You
Right.
know, because you
She
can't
just
have
knew
no
she didn't
students.
want to drink and drive though.
Yeah, so I guess I taught her something.
Yeah, yes, you did. You guess you taught her
She ain't
something.
learned that from me.
So, what's your favorite thing about each one of your daughters?
My oldest daughter is super, super independent. She's a traveler because we didn't travel a lot when they was growing up either.
Mm-hmm.
So she just loved to get out in the world and just travel to go. You know, she likes to bike ride. She likes to she's also a part of New Air Detroit. I don't know if you ever
Okay.
heard of them
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a part of that. Her and her fiance, they love to go, doing weird stuff like jumping out of airplanes and stuff like
It's not
that.
weird.
And
They are risk takers. That's all. That's not
yeah,
weird.
there's risk I ain't willing to take, but they do stuff like that. They travel the country. They travel outside the country. They always doing something. My middle daughter, she's always trying to find a way to be. She's an entrepreneur, and she's
Hmm.
always trying to find a way to make more money in some fashion, from working where she work at to trying to be in movies to even taking classes to learning how to wire a home or drywall a home. And
Wow.
she just takes all these different courses in life to try to improve herself all the time.
That's
And,
good.
some things she fails, some things she exerts at. My youngest daughter has a mentality of, I'm gonna get it done. I'm
Hmm.
gonna go to school. I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna this. She models. I'm gonna model. Because she models boutique clothes. She was modeling some other stuff. 'Cause she was on the back. She was on the cover of the back of a magazine. So I got her magazine in my living room on the coffee table with her on the cover of it.
Okay. That's good.
Um, they just all of them just got a ambition like no other. That I don't
Hmm.
know where the hell they get it from. Cause I didn't have that ambition at their age.
Hey, it's somewhere down that lineage. Grandma's, grandpa, somebody had it. If you think back, you'll figure it out. You'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah. I'm just blessed to have them personally.
Yeah, yes, they sound like they're wonderful blessings to you. Yeah, yeah. So, how do you show love to your daughters?
um, each one is. I guess each one is different. Is never the same two
Hmm.
or three loves. Um, like my youngest daughter, she don't like confrontation.
Okay,
So I try to let her deal with what she deal with and let her come to me
okay.
to say anything. And then when I do talk to her, I gotta make sure that you dealing with her is like holding a delicate flower.
Mm,
And I gotta really hold this flower delicately, or it's gonna break.
okay.
My middle child, she gonna talk to me about any and everything. Some stuff I probably don't want to hear. She gonna do some stuff around me I don't care to hear or smell. Um, and my middle,
That's nice that she trusts you and feels secure with you.
yeah, I know, right? And she just look at me like, what? I'm like, you want to say excuse me or something? I mean, and and my oldest daughter is she's just she's a registered nurse,
Hmm.
at one of the local hospitals, and her whole when you say Black Lives Matter, she is
Hmm.
into that whole. She is that Black Lives that matter.
Okay.
That she's out there passing out food, book bags, um, just giving out, passing out flyers with like I said, with that New Era Detroit or something like that.
Hmm.
She deals with that. So I mean, dealing with all of them, you just gotta learn. Dealing with that one especially because with the whole thing with police and stuff like that,
Right.
they'd be like, no, no, police this, police that, and she doesn't really take it to heart because her fiance is a police officer, and she knows what I do as well. So she doesn't really just she sees it from both views of
Right.
everything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Well, all right. We're going to take a 30-second break. So don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be right back in 30 seconds. Stay tuned. Hi. Are you thinking about having that backyard barbecue or taking dad to the neighborhood restaurant again this year for Father's Day? Well, why don't you do something different this year and bring your dad out to our Father's Day luncheon being held at the DSO located at 3711 Woodward Avenue in Midtown Detroit. Your dad will enjoy a great meal, live music by the Class Act Band, laughs by comedian Mike Bonner, and our DJ Rod S. will be playing music to help your dad dance off that delicious meal. I'm Sarah McClure, the host of Real Dad Speak podcast, and I'm inviting you to bring your dad out for an afternoon of music, fun, and laughs. We'll have great door prizes and several contests for dad to win more prizes, including Best Dressed Dad. So save the backyard barbecue and messy cleanup for the 4th of July and bring your dad out for an afternoon of music, fun, and laughs. Tickets are available online at dso.org and at the DSO box office in Midtown Detroit. I hope to see you there. Welcome back, everybody, to Real Dad Speak. We're talking with Maurice Dillard about raising a family of girls and being the only man in the house when he was growing up. So now, Dillard, we've come to the part of the show where I call it my final 5 questions or fill in the blank. So, number 1, what do you think all girls need from their fathers?
Guidance
Okay.
on what to expect from men, and what you're willing to tolerate and not tolerate, and take the guessing out of it.
Okay. All right. Number 2, what are you trying to show your daughters about being a man and a dad?
Just hard work. You know, I know you're gonna want to be around. When you get with a boyfriend for the first time or whatever it may be. You know, there's nothing wrong with that man that's working hard every day. You don't gotta accuse him of cheating and doing extra stuff. He going to work, and he going to work every day to help provide. But if it is happening, it'll pop up.
Right.
You
Don't
know
have to
what
go
I'm
look
saying?
for
Yeah.
it.
But just take it for what it is. That man is working hard for you. Not all men work hard for anybody,
Right.
but when a man work hard for you, that's it. That says a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Number 3, what's the best advice you ever received about raising girls?
Um, I don't know. Didn't nobody else have all girls?
Oh,
I think I'm the only
okay.
one that had all. I think I'm the only one that had all girls. Either everybody had a boy and a girl, or all boys, or one girl
Okay.
somewhere.
All
Uh,
right.
yeah, I never.
We'll skip that. We'll
Yeah,
skip that one in. Number 4, what are some of the important lessons that fatherhood has taught you about raising girls?
being patient. Um, not taking everything for what's been said or done, because
Mhm.
girls are emotional, and a
Mhm.
lot of things they react to come off emotions.
Mhm.
And when you hear "I don't care," don't believe it. Don't believe it. If they didn't care, they wouldn't told you they don't care.
Right.
So it's something that they care, but at the same time, give them room to come to you. You can't force a girl to come to you. You gotta let her come to you. And as a man, you gotta be able to accept that she's gonna come to you when she feels comfortable with being with you, regardless if it's your spouse, your daughters, anything like that. Don't try to force it.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 5 and the final one is the fill in the blank. The main characteristics and physical qualities that this is you complete the sentence for me. The main characteristics and physical qualities that I want my daughters to look for when they're dating a man are blank.
Um, loyalty, honesty, God fearing, and respectfulness.
Okay. I like all of those. I like all of those.
I've
Well,
been a little
thank you.
heathen from time to time, though.
Lord have mercy. Well, thank you, Dylan. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This was a very, very interesting podcast. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. I enjoyed you. I enjoyed you. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for listening to Real Dad Speak. And we have a new episode that comes out every Tuesday on YouTube or Spotify, 7 p.m. So please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Real Dad Speak. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.